Before we start this video, yes, I'm aware this video is about preparing for winter, and yes, it is almost spring. I had some technical difficulties that have finally been sorted, so last winter was rough. I moved here in November, so I didn't have time to prepare, and I felt it. Literally. The RV is poorly insulated, and there were visible gaps around the door and the slide out. Sometimes, if the wind was blowing just right, the snow would come inside near the bottom of the slide out, and there would be a pile of snow that just wouldn't melt until the temperatures warmed up. Not gonna lie, it was kind of miserable. But this year, I'm determined to change that. Thanks to my one single patron for sponsoring this video. If you want community around anything home design, to support a trans and disabled creator, or to show that you enjoy my videos, go to patreon.com/medorakia. My name is Medora, and I live off-grid in a 30-year-old RV with no water, no sewer, and no electric hookups. I haul every single drop of water I use, I poop in a bucket, and I use this tiny solar generator to charge all of my devices. I moved here once it was already cold and snowy outside, which was a huge mistake. So I didn't get to do much more than some ugly foam skirting before the winter really set in. Today is October 1st, and I have a massive list of things to do in the next few weeks. But as overwhelming as that is, I am so grateful that I actually have time to prepare for winter this year, and make it at least a little bit more comfortable. Without further ado, my list includes general tidying, cleaning, and decluttering, making a curtain, putting up a weather seal around the front door, insulating around the slide out, finishing the woodshed that we're currently building, making a sink functional / actually having running water in here, making a desk and a dog bowl holder and a trash can to replace the dog crate situation over there, transforming our bathroom sink area, which does not currently have a sink, into a closet, buying tarps and paracord and moving the storage tent that we have, and subsequently moving all of the things that I need to store inside of that tent, sanding, staining, and sealing the shoe bench. I need to finish attaching the deck boards. I would love to make a little solar heater air thingy so that we don't constantly have to have the wood stove running, at least on days when it's sunny. I need to keep processing firewood. I need to split a bunch of kindling, which I started a little bit yesterday. I need to clean up the wood stove area. I need to replace my truck battery and the 2 back tires. I just got a new chainsaw and I need to replace the rope on it and also like the chain and like do all the oils and stuff. I need to retape the skirting around the RV because it's coming loose. I need to find some sort of fluffy-ish rug for the bathroom because currently it is just subfloor. I need to clean up inside of the shoe bench so that we can actually store our fire supplies in there, and then I need to fix our toilet. I'm sure there's something I've forgotten, but I will find it, and I will hopefully do it. I'm challenging myself to get at least 2/3 of this done before the first snow of the season, which could be in 2 months or could be in 2 weeks. So, good luck to me, I guess. General cleaning. Let's go. We've got so much stuff everywhere, and we really just need a reset. This is, you know, kind of embarrassing to show, but, like, that's the reality. That's what life does sometimes, and I apparently did not get aftershocks. Onto the closet transformation. We have this empty spot, which was supposed to be a bathroom sink, and we were going to replace it with a bathroom sink, but then we ended up not having running water where we're parked at. So we decided to instead use that as some functional storage space, as opposed to the not particularly functional storage space that you're currently seeing. So to do that, I just did a really simple closet rod thingy. Cut out a few pieces of wood, sanded them a lot, kept sanding them, and then I cut a dowel to size to fit the width of the space that we had there, and then we used what's called a hole saw. You put it in a drill, so it's not like a saw. It's not a saw, but it goes in a drill and it like saws out a hole. I don't know. I was confused about that when I first learned the term, and I was like, well, why is it called a saw if you put it in a drill? Well, I don't know why it's called that, but that's what it is. So now you know. To do this, I did put a piece of scrap wood in between the good piece of wood that I wanted to drill the hole in and the deck, because I didn't want to, drill a giant hole in our deck. And then, just for aesthetics, I did condition and stain the wood. If you've never stained anything before, conditioner is what goes on softwoods to help them absorb the stain more evenly. Some people will say you don't need it. They're wrong. I mean, you don't, need it, but, if you're trying to finish something nicely, you need it. Yeah, we just picked out our favorite stain that we have a giant thing of that is the same color of stain of everything in our house, because we weren't trying to buy more stain, and then, I did polyurethane it. Sometimes I don't. So I cleaned up the counter and installed the hanging rod thingy. And I promise I didn't intentionally try to make my butt look this good, but of course it happened, so I had to include it. You know how it is. I installed a few hooks, and it was done. Are they the straightest things you've ever seen? No. But you know what? Neither are we. Oh, on to the woodshed. So, as I am recording this on March 23rd, the woodshed is still not fully finished, but we made a lot of progress, and I'm really proud with what we did. Aside from the screws, basically everything in this woodshed was completely free, just based on what we had on the land here. This was definitely the biggest, most structural thing I've ever built, so I'm really proud of myself for that. We included a window, just for the vibes, because I got it for free. And on to insulation. This is probably the single most thing that made the biggest difference in our experience from last winter to this winter. There was just so much space around the slide out, so putting these pipe insulation thingies into the gaps, just to fill the gaps, made a huge difference. And as you can see, our door, gaps all around. And even when the door is closed, you can still see light coming in from the outside, which was really, really not good. So I got this, little sticky insulation thingy off, I think it was off of Temu. Don't cancel me, please. Honestly, it didn't even work that well either, so I don't recommend it. Oh, you want to help? You want to help so much? Yeah. Yeah. That did it. Okay, so ignore the lighting, but I was sick for almost an entire week within my 2-week time frame, so that really put a damper on my progress. And I also started a really big work project, so things have not happened quite as quickly as I was hoping. But I have gotten quite a bit done. But we've got a few days left before it's going to start to get cold enough that we need to use the wood stove every single night for a whole week straight. So, let's get a few things done. Oh, the storage tent. Here's the drama you all want in a YouTube video. I got the storage tent off of Craigslist for, I think, $75. They usually go for $200 or $300 brand new. So I was like, okay, I'll get this. I'll set it up behind our little, storage shed camper thing so that the wind won't blow it over. It'll be fine. Spoiler alert, it was not fine. There's footage of that coming up soon. So I got the tent put up. It was surprisingly spacious It felt really nice, honestly, to be in. So I moved all of the, like, windows for my tiny house in. I started organizing some things. I've got 2 big boxes of tools like this. The other one's over here. I've started organizing on the shelves already, but this is just to figure out where things are going to go. And then we're going to make things look all nice and pretty. Alright, so the boxes are empty. We have screws and nails, hardware with screws and nails, tools, hardware without screws or nails, junk drawer stuff, tiles, non-wood things, so like tile cutters and metal things, extension cords, general tool supplies, woodworking stuff, and then clamps, sandpaper, and PPE. And of course over here like levels and, you know, a random gas can, because of course. So now I've got to try to find containers for all of these things. And then I found a bunch of boxes and spray painted them, which was quite satisfying, if I do say so myself. Oh, and then for everyone's favorite part, the labels. The pretty, pretty labels. Okay, so there's really not much explanation for this. I should probably just put, like, some fun montage music, but, like, labels. And just like that, everything is organized. I feel like such a dad right now. Having all of my tools lined up and organized and labeled in like nice color coordinating boxes is making me so happy. I can't wait for the day that I have my own workshop with like shelves lining the walls and space for like a giant table, and I'm very happy. I don't know if you'll be able to hear me over the high winds, but clearly the tent is not okay. I've spent all morning before sunset even moving everything into a safer location so that it won't get ruined. Wow. I think it's clearly not safe to try to take the tent down today, so I weighed it down with some wood all along the side, some like really heavy pieces of wood, in hopes that it just won't blow away at the very least. Although the roof is looking a little sketchy. Pray for me, good luck, best wishes, cross fingers, I'll take anything I can get. Oh, also it's starting to snow already, so that's fantastic. I need to take the dog out like right now. And then, this happened.
5 minutes later.
This was a complete disaster. Now for the shoe bench, which I guess is exactly what it sounds like. It's a bench, it's a place to store shoes, it's a place to store a bunch of stuff. It's the very first thing I ever built, so there is not a single 90-degree angle in this entire piece. But it has been very useful. So yeah, organizing it really helps. Just doing a quick reset. I'm sure this will not stay anywhere as neat and tidy, but we have shoes. Obviously, there's a lot more shoes that will go in here. Vacuum, wood carrier bag thingy, and then all of our fire starting things. So, gloves, kindling, little fire starters, 4 lighters, and then a pair of leather fire gloves. Oh, and then this is apparently the part where I decided to go on a tangent for some reason and show you how to make the fire starters that we use. Basically, we just use toilet paper rolls and paper towel rolls to, we unwind them and we fold them in half, and that's our fire starters. It's free, it's cheap, it's easy, and you can't get much better than that. And then now we're gonna finish this because I never actually stained it or sealed it or anything, and there are a lot of scratches that I would like to try to sand out. So, I did a ton of sanding, thankfully on a day when I could open the windows, because it was very dusty. Oh, there's a shot of my butt. Here I'm just using a damp rag to wipe all of the extra sawdust off before I actually start conditioning and staining it. So, conditioner first, as always. You always want to make sure to go with a grain of the wood, so that's what I'm doing there. I know you can't read this, but rags soaked with this product may spontaneously catch fire if improperly discarded. Immediately after use, place rags in a sealed, water-filled metal container. Or you can just let them dry out in the sun. As long as you're not, like, trapping the gases in there, that's all that really matters. Oh, right. And then, we don't have any gloves, and I really didn't want to get stain all over my hands. So, you know, DIY glove. Yep, I'm creative, and it did work. So, there's that. Okay, so I'm not mad at this color, but I think it needs to be a little bit darker. So we're gonna try this darker stain. And then while I was waiting for the stain to dry, I got to do the lovely honors of waiting on hold for like an hour, which is always a glorious time. Oh, I made a pun here. Hold on, I should probably say that pun out loud. Yeah, waiting on hold with the government is kind of like watching stain dry.
Busy assisting other callers. Please remain on the line, and we will be with you as soon as possible.
Next, we're moving on to the skirting. We already had some skirting from last year, which is basically just like something to block the wind for the most part around the bottom of the RV. We used foam because it's a little more insulating, which is usually what's recommended, but the tape is not in the best condition. So I did retape this first one, and of course, this first one is the only one where the tape decided to stick. On all of the other ones, the tape just like didn't want to stick. So none of the skirting actually like blew away this year, like it did last year. Just a quick update. Last night and this morning was the first snow of the season, and I thought it was just going to be a light dusting, but there are several inches out there. So, let's go through my to-do list and see if I've actually gotten successfully 2/3 of it done. Oh, Andrew's calling. He's currently stuck in a snowbank. Hi. Are they helping to try to push? Yeah, I'll bring salt and, like, pieces of wood. Okay. No, what? How? Yup. Yep. Yeah. Ah. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3,
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
11, 12 things done out of 1, 2, 3,
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
21, 22, 23, 24. So I have exactly half of the things done. Although, to be fair, some of them are half done, and some of them I have decided are not getting done. So, anything that has to do with the chainsaw is not happening. The solar heater air thingy is also not happening. Tires are not happening. I am mostly done with the woodshed. I just have to put some more siding on, and that's about it. And then I have started on the curtain. So I would say I'm about 2/3 done, based on that, girl math. So we're not doing too bad. And now I've got to go get my partner unstuck from a snowbank. On to one of the funner tasks, making a curtain, which I've never done before. So if you need some curtains, I would highly recommend doing this. It was really not that hard. I don't even have a sewing machine. I just hand sewed it. It really, really was not that bad. I honestly kind of love hand sewing because it's meditative, but maybe that's just me being weird. So anyways, I cut the fabric to size. I ironed it. I ironed it a lot. And the reason for this different location is because apparently irons take a lot of electricity. Like this old iron that I had took more than 600 watts. And I don't know exactly how much, but definitely more than 600 because that's how big our solar generator is. So I had to go into town, into a community space to be able to iron this, which was very, very necessary, and it could still use more ironing. But I was only in there for a limited amount of time. So these are called pleat hooks, I think. Basically, there's a hook and then there's 4 prongs. And those prongs are what you slip into the little loops of the curtain tape that you attach. And then I got these rings. I wasn't sure if I wanted to use the clips or not. I probably could have found something cheaper if I didn't want the clips, because I didn't end up using them. But those are my 2 options for how to attach them, and I went with the second one. And then, just some cheap curtain rod holder thingies. And then this is the curtain tape. This is a really cheap version, but it did work. I do recommend getting the better version because I had to do 2 rows of this curtain tape, but it did all work out in the end. And then this entire time that I was sewing, I was listening to the Rotten Mango podcast, which I highly recommend. She's a phenomenal storyteller.
But the FBI was monitoring her. They stated that schizophrenia does tend to manifest in the late teenage years or early 20s. So Sydney was 19 at the time of the murder. It has been proven that there is a link between stress and triggering symptoms of schizophrenia or making it worse. They also argued that I personally am not downplaying anyone's experiences with vivid dreams or their emotional response to it, right? But I'm just informing you guys of a lot of the netizen discourse about this particular subject, because this clip kind of went viral on like YouTube Shorts even. And the only thing that I can say about this is, I think the argument for insanity just was not the strongest here. Like, you cannot plead insanity and then one of your friends is like, she would have these really intense nightmares.
Did Sydney ever talk to you about it?
So we can find out where he is. Things are not adding up. Mrs. Hu held a press conference, and it was very hard to not sympathize with her. She had Shing at 40 years old, and she just wanted to do everything to give him like the most happy upbringing, and then this happens. You better believe that sit-off isn't okay. It was like a bombastic side eye. Like, what are you talking about? The principal, where your son went missing on his campus, refuses to cooperate with you? Very strange. She publicly asked the principal a series of questions. 1. Principal, you were off the day that my son disappeared, so you were not on campus. But at 5:51 p.m., you were seen rushing back to the school. Did you rush back to the school to mess with the security tapes? 2. Why was there an SUV parked near the cafeteria? The SUV wasn't caught on your security cameras, but did you know that the SUV was caught on a different camera? The SUV was sitting there for about 6 minutes. Was Shing taken away in that SUV? 3. This is to the SUV driver. I want to ask you, did you take my son? 4. Do all the teachers here still even have a heart? I believe you carried my son to the cafeteria gate and into that SUV. Police signaled near the stairs of the door building. Keep that in mind. But otherwise it checked out. It cleared. It looked normal. The security footage in that area didn't show any sort of weird happenings either. The family hired a security engineer to help him go through the school security system to see if it was tampered with, to get some sort of clue. If her son walked out fine, which way did he go? Did he leave with someone? Did someone stop and talk to him? Like, was he taken? That's what she wants to know. Once it was revealed that she was going around hiring her own detectives, people started speculating. Going on. It was later revealed that the administrators convinced older students to literally waterboard victims and witnesses if they were talking to the press. Literally waterboard. Take them to the laundry room and waterboard them. Thankfully, even if you didn't have to formally recant her statement later in the trial, because of this coerced letter, it was just too iffy to use her as a testimony. There were students that witnessed her assault through the office window. They even saw the wiping with the tissues, the Coke, the cup of Coke part. They stated clearly for producers that Eugene was screaming, no, no, no. And that part is going to become devastating. The fact that she was screaming no, just keep this in mind. So obviously, when the coercion didn't work, the vice principal asked to meet with Mr. J in a hotel lobby and begged him to negotiate with the administration. If Mr. J was to just admit that he made all the kids lie, he could get all the benefits that he would ever dream of. He could be the next vice principal, for crying out loud, if he wanted. The vice principal said, I'm the chairman's son. Being on my good side, it would be really good for you. Mr. J rejected it, and the head of administration, you know, he's married, the vice principal's married, he's doing all of this with the wife and kids, and what's crazier is that the wife is sticking by his side. His wife comes out and begs, pleads with Mr. J, and she says, my husband is not responsible for any of this. He did not do it. He could go to prison for a really long time because of this. Please, you have to help us. Mr. J declined, and he went to the media and told them what happened. The school was super pissed with all the negative press that they were getting. They didn't even care about doing damage control. They just felt rage, so they fired Mr. J on the spot. They responded to journalists. Deaf people always lie.
Wow.
Deaf people always lie. It's in their nature. They lie as much as they eat. I was so shocked at this line. Okay, they lie as much as they eat is such a, I don't know if it comes off in the translation, but in Korean, it's such a disgusting way to describe something. It's like you don't even see them as humans, you see them as like animals. They said, teachers who I know also said the same thing as me. Deaf people always act however they want for their own comfort. They only think about the present moment. That's why they lie, and that's why we should never trust them. That's usually a firm iron rule in this industry.
Can you imagine? This is like the care, what are they called?
Caretakers.
Caretaker of these. Like, can you imagine?
Yeah, what I don't understand is, yeah, I don't know.
Like, how do they
even-
think it's okay to say that too?
That's what I'm saying. And I think, like, okay, I think they are evil, they are monsters, and they did receive a lot of backlash, but whatever the community, whatever bubble they're in, made them feel that was appropriate. So it's not just the person saying it that's wrong. There must be people behind this family that are like, yeah, I totally agree with you. They must have family friends that they go out to eat dinner with and complain about the students that literally are their livelihood. And everyone must say, yeah, you're totally right. I just can't imagine what that community of their friends or those closest to them are like if they think that this is okay to say in public to producers.
Probably making fun of them all the time.
Yes.
And jokes around and...
So, like I said, we're probably covering a small percentage of the abuse that truly happened. The school was open for over 50 years. It's 50 years of abuse we're talking about, and I'm sure it's just horrific to the point where I don't think any of the general population knows truly the full extent of what happened.
And once the curtain was done, I put some hooks on it and hung it up. And the last step, which I decided to leave for the very end, was to hem the very bottom to be the perfect length. I don't recommend doing this the way that I did it, which was by using hem tape instead of just sewing it. Hem tape would be fine if you're using it on a window where you're not going to actually be touching the curtain very much, but if you're using it on your front door, your main door, your only door that you use to go in and outside multiple times a day, I would not recommend the hem tape because it has definitely started coming undone. And the desk. The desk that I have never sat at once. I had a whole plan for this to be a nice little workspace for me to edit my YouTube videos, and that has not happened, and now we're moving. Surprise. So, anyways, to make this desk, I basically just did a ton of sanding and staining and all sorts of stuff. I tested my pocket hole first on some scrap wood, made sure that it did not go through to the other side. But the wood that I was using was very old and not straight, and there were no right angles. I was just like working with what I had. Oh, and I realized I didn't really explain the design of this at all, but basically I wanted to attach one side to the wall and have this contraption that I'm building hold up the other side. So, yeah, I will try to insert some sort of after footage right here. And, you know, one of the small little tasks that no one wants to do, but I have learned from experience, you must do this before your pumpkins turn into literal soup, because otherwise you will need to shovel them off of your porch, and it will be a giant mess. So, we're throwing these squishy pumpkins into the compost. And now, one of the most exciting things for us this winter was making our sink functional. So, this is what we're working with. The fresh water usually comes up from here and into these faucet lines, which run back here and up to the faucet, which goes behind there. And then, when the water comes out of the sink, it comes down here, into here, and this is not actually attached because we hired 2 plumbers and they only kind of installed this one sink even though we had 2, and it was still leaking, hence all of the silicone around here, which I fixed and made better. And anyways, it goes down into the P-trap and down that pipe. So what we're going to do, we're going to unscrew that. We're going to attach this in its place. This is going to go directly down to a large 6-gallon bottle. No P-trap or anything. And then we'll have another container here with fresh water and just one of those little USB pumps with a tube that goes straight up to a little USB faucet. So let's do the thing that I've been putting off for like months now. The grossest part of this entire process. What? I don't know if you're like me, but I have a thing about drains. I cannot do drains. Here to like soak up any of that water. Sink drains, shower drains, I don't care. They're just so disgusting. Yep, there's definitely some water in there. Okay. They just make my body have a, like, physical, visceral reaction, and it is unpleasant, to say the least. So, you know, just like a tampon. But I did successfully do it. As long as it works. Is this a very precarious position for my camera to be in? Yes. Do I really care? Well, again, very disgusting. I am so sorry about this. But you know, sometimes that's the reality of DIY. I did it! Okay, although you can't see much of it, this is our sink, and this is under our sink. And my plan is to cut this shelf out all the way, all of that, cut all of that out, so that we can fit these water jugs under there. So, fingers crossed that goes well. If you've never done plumbing before, I know this might look kind of complicated, but really it's just a matter of like screwing things together and unscrewing things, and like plumbing really isn't that bad. Just do your research, I promise you can figure it out. And yes, it did start pouring water out of there, and I had to spend probably at least 20 minutes cleaning up that water. There we go. Oh, there's more water. One of these thingies. And then we're just gonna do that to that one. There's snow in the forecast for tomorrow, and again later this week, so I would say we have officially reached winter. I've made a lot of progress over the past month, and I'm honestly really proud of myself because I feel like I'm entering a new era of figuring out what self-care means to me, and honestly I feel like everything on this list is self-care to me, because it's all essentially gifts to my future self of not letting my building materials be destroyed over the winter, and not letting my wood get wet over the winter and stuff like that. Let's go see if I successfully managed to get 2/3 or more of my list done. So I should probably have some sort of outro to this video. Yes, I got probably at least 80% of the things done. That's, you know, close enough, right? Girl math? I don't know. And then the rest of what we didn't get done is because we moved. We have a whole entire apartment. So, anyways, I've got a bunch of room makeover content coming, so subscribe if you want to partake in that situation. Bye.